Some call it the best pencil in the world. Others might say it's a little bit overpriced. But today, I'm going to use the Blackwing pencil to make a portrait drawing. So, strap in, guys. So, the reference for this portrait came from the great Andrew Loomis. He had some awesome portraits going on in his day. So, this is kind of just a master study, taking a look at one of his female head portraits. And I'll start off with some of the materials. I'm using, the Blackwing pencils. I got that, the Palomino, as well as, I can't remember the name of it, but it's the one that's casing is white, as well as a number 2 you can see here, and Strathmore vellum paper, bristle board, vellum bristle board. And when I start these drawings out, I kind of just try and capture the overall gesture of the head, just the try and capture the tilt of the neck or the head, is the neck at any angle. Then I try and put the hair in, kind of the outlines, just the big shapes, get those put in. Nothing's really set in stone so early on. Things change. So after that, after the lay-in phase, I kind of start trying to think about the proportions. There's a couple like super vital proportions to your drawings. Super important tips that I'd say to try and follow to the best of your ability would be keeping the eyes at the vertical halfway point of the head. Depending on the angle, if you're looking up at the head or if you're looking down, it might change, but that's like critical to get right. In children, it changes a little bit because kids have like humongous foreheads. So in kids, it might be, a little bit different. You're going to have more of the top of the head than the lower part. And as as you get older, the proportions just balance out. But that's a super important one. And my next tip would be when you're drawing the eyes, try to group all the shapes of the eyes together. You've got the sort of the iris and pupil, right? You've got the eyelids as well, the top eyelid at least. All of that, and the tear ducts as well. All those shapes kind of work together to form a graphic type of shape, And if you try and draw them all separately, it kind of makes the drawing look a little bit disjointed, a little bit. There's a more effective way to go about it. So I'd kind of say just try and keep them all together, and especially now I'm kind of getting into the 2-value stage of this drawing. It's going to be really important when we start to get to shading the eyes, especially. And I think it makes it easier to draw the eyes too, like just having one methodology that you go about when you draw the eyes instead of having to draw everything individually. You just put them all together. And especially just try to avoid drawing like the typical almond shaped eyes, when you're in like kindergarten and they're teaching you how to draw eyes in class, those elementary school portrait drawing classes. I guess probably not portrait drawing, just your art class. They show you draw like an almond shape and then you put a circle in it that might be a little bit cut off at the top and then put some little lines for the eyelashes. We're adults, or at least we're closer to adulthood if you're not yet an adult. So there's no need to follow the kids' way, right? We can advance on beyond that. So my next tip would be to try and separate light from shadow. It's really important that you have a clear kind of like delineation between where the light is hitting the face and where it's not, where the light's missing the face. And you've done it right when all the darks are massed together in one big bunch on one side, or just throughout the drawing, and then you've got all the lights massed together. They're just like automatically isolated. That's how you're kind of getting it right. And another big tip would seriously be like, when you're doing this, it's not enough to just separate light from shadow. That's a huge first step if you don't already do that. But it's important to understand that there's different qualities of edges. There's soft edges when the form is soft and round. There's going to be soft, kind of gradiated tones. And then when the edge is very sharp, one example could kind of be maybe if you have some strong lighting and it's hitting the nose and it's casting a shadow off that. Typically the cast shadows, when they're really close to the form that's casting the shadow, it's going to be sharp. It's going to be a crispy, sharp edge. So those edges can sort of be sharp. And then as the shadow kind of moves away from the form that's casting it, it's going to get softer. So it's really important to sort of have a lot of fun, and I guess the artistry of things is going to be in manipulating those soft edges to less soft but a little bit crispier, all the way up to crispy, and sort of balancing that. And that's kind of a place where you can almost tell your own story with the drawing, instead of just faithfully reproducing what you see. Maybe you're drawing a younger woman with features that are meant to be really round, really soft, really delicate, so you don't include as many hard edges. Maybe you keep a lot of soft edges, and you sort of preserve the hard edges for just maybe the eyes, the nostrils, parts of the lips, but around the whole face might be a little bit smoother, or you're drawing like some athletic guy who's tough, you might want to use more hard edges. You might play around with that, put hard edges where they don't belong, and use your artistic license and see if that looks good. So another tip is when you're shading, especially because this is pencil, you can sort of work with the direction of the mark that you're making on the page. So basically, when you look at the hair, the way I'm putting it down, this is kind of the way that Andrew Loomis goes ahead and works his mark making in his drawings. When you look at his book, you're following the contour of the hair with the strokes. So yes, you're thinking about value. Like this lady has blonde hair instead of black hair, so the hair isn't that dark. My strokes aren't going to get super duper dark. There's going to be really light parts that are going to be probably the white of the page. But when I'm making my strokes, I'm keeping them directional to the direction of the locks of the hair. That's another really important thing to do, even across the face. I did smudge in some stuff I was just experimenting with smudging. I'm not that big on smudging, in all honesty. But when you're making you can really make the drawing look like a drawing. And so real quick here, guys, if you're wondering about like how I was getting the proportions and how I'm sort of figuring out some of the features in detail, I got this tutorial here. Just click the link, check it out. It's a 2-part series that'll help you get your proportions and get your just figure out this value stuff a little bit better. Right, so I think Andrew Loomis really was into trying to make his drawings look more like drawings and less photographic. If you've ever seen people do those drawings where they're so incredibly tight that they look less like they're drawn by hand and more like a camera took it. The mark making is one easy way to sort of get that loose, expressive look to your drawings. And so we're kind of coming up to the end of this Andrew Loomis study here. I think the Blackwings kind of held their own here. They were really smooth. I didn't have to press as hard to get some of the values I wanted. I really did enjoy them, and they also look super cool with that flat eraser in the back and the paint and the shininess all over it. I'd say they're worth it. They were like $25 a box. Didn't want to pull the trigger on it, but I bought them. Happy I did. They're really cool. And so, yeah, we're kind of near the end, and I want you guys to let me know what's one area of your drawings that you think is kind of the weakest, or something that you're focusing in on right now. For me, it's really working the backgrounds in my drawings and getting a little bit more sort of artistry almost into especially my paintings. You know, whether you want to talk about your drawings or paintings, what do you think's the weakest link, you know, in your skill set? Let me know. Write that in the comments. If you like the video, guys, then show a new channel some love and just, you know, like this video. And if you like this type of artwork and, you know, these types of tips, then go ahead and subscribe because I'm going to try to get more videos like this out every week. So, thanks for watching, guys. Enjoy your day.